Hey guys, NikoTheLegend here, also known as the well-mannered teenager and the snowflake. And boy, am I happy to see you guys, because today, on this video, is a very special one. And we all know why, right? As the title suggests, this is going to be discussing the 20th anniversary birthday of Final Fantasy IX. My all-time favorite game. And this is not a signal to look at my shirt, but I had to wear it because I love the game so much. Had to get the V-neck. Yeah, V-necks are still in style, guys. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. This is good. If your girlfriend tells you, hey, V-necks are stupid and dumb, well, you tell her, like, we're breaking up because they're not dumb, okay? Unless you're, like, one of those, like, emo punkers that wear their V-neck, like, down to here, and it's just, like, you just see their training bras or something. Anyway, guys, so we are going to be discussing why Final Fantasy IX is so good to me, to my little Nico frog heart, and why it was such a special time for me to experience growing up, and how much it actually shaped my reality of today. Right? Sounds kind of cliche. He's like, oh, how much can a video game really shape, you know, what's it gonna do for you, like, blah, blah, blah. Listen. Just listen! Okay, are we all on the same note? Okay, cool. So, Final Fantasy IX is turning, this is gonna be a jump cut. Well, good news for me. I'm a day behind. So by the time this video comes out, which is July 8th, July 7th is when... Shh. Another jump cut. Okay, that's why you should just keep your phones off at all times. Anyway, so Final Fantasy IX just turned 20 yesterday, which is July 7th, and its birth date was 2000, July 7th, 2000. So now we're at 2020, July 8th at the time of this video. So that's why I'm making this video, because I believe that, oh my god, I just saw something. Final Fantasy IX devs would love to continue the story. Oh god! Oh, shit! What am I doing? Why are we talking about that? That's great. So guys, I want to just let you know how special this game is. It's very special. Okay, the video's over. We can go. We can clip all we want now. No, but for real. Final Fantasy IX is my favorite game of all time. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Number 2, Ocarina of Time. Number 3, Mega Man X. That's right. So you guys could probably understand why those games are just so important to me. And if anybody who's played those games, you definitely understand why, or what all the fuss is about. And for those of you who have not ever played a Final Fantasy, has never been interested in one, I understand that the franchise is not for everybody. But if there's one Final Fantasy game out there that you're ever curious about, it should be Final Fantasy IX. That game is the best one to me. And, shameless plug, this will tie in, I will have a link down below. Final Fantasy IX, or top 9 reasons Final Fantasy IX is better than Final Fantasy VII. That video couldn't be any more relevant because of the Final Fantasy VII remake that came out and 9's 20th birthday. So that link will be, that'll be the first link you see at the bottom below. I highly recommend you guys checking that out. I put a lot of time and effort into that. I released it about 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago. It's a pretty long video. It's about 46 minutes, but guys, I believe I owe it to the world on why I felt that way. Now, don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy VII is probably my second favorite one, and then Final Fantasy VI, okay? So it's not that I don't like 7, it's just 9 is just vastly superior. Okay, are we on the same note here? Probably not. So guys, Final Fantasy IX came out on the original PlayStation and has been ported ever since to a bunch of different consoles like the PS3, the PS4, the Xbox One, PC, the Switch, PS Vita, PSP, you name it, okay? It's pretty, iOS, it's pretty, Android, it's pretty accessible anywhere. So, like I said, I highly recommend you guys playing it. So, let me tell you why this game was so special. Let me tell you my most subjective, humble opinion. Now, the other video, top 9 reasons why 9's better than 7, that's objective. That's all objective, right? Yeah, thank you, God. Yeah, thanks a lot. No. 9 was just, how do I say it? It was just one of those games that just clicked with me so well. You know, have you ever had a video game like that that's just like, as soon as you start playing, boom. As soon as the menu loads up and the music that plays behind it, it's like, boom. It just clicks with you. Click. And you just fall in love with it right away. It's like you're just in a trance and you're just like, holy crap, what am I about to get myself into? And once you hit new game, of course, Squaresoft always likes to add a little cool little chime or a little sound effect that happens when you play or you press new game and it goes and it's like, what am I doing? So as soon as the game starts, we're introduced to something huge and special and understanding what the world's all about, proper world building, and we get a glimpse of what's yet to come. It's like on such a symphony, opera, I don't even know, orchestrated scale, beyond measure, and it was so well done. And Squaresoft, back in the day they were never strangers to doing that. Like Final Fantasy VII, for example, had the same thing. We got to see Ares, or Aerith, if you're like me. I always went with Ares from back on the original FF7 days. We get to see her, don't know who she is, and then it goes to a zoom out of Midgar, and the title comes on, and then we go straight into the action where Cloud jumps off the train, which I thought was a really cool way to start the game. I like that. 9 is on the similar approach, except instead here we see Dagger, who's on the ocean. Supposedly, we don't know who Dagger is there, or this other character, or this other character. There's 3 characters on this boat. We don't know who they are, but we get an idea that it's this princess who wakes up from the dream or the trance, and then is just not living her best life as being strapped inside the castle. And then it goes from that, zooms out, shows Alexandria, shows the Prima Vista, the main boat where Zidane, the main character, is at, and then it just goes straight into Zidane's perspective, and then we're starting to play. We don't know who he is. It's just like, guys, I'm not kidding. The way that this was done was just so perfect to me. It was so near and dear to my heart. I just loved everything about it. I'm going to be saying that a lot in this video, so pardon me. I can't help it. And then we go into this battle, this introductory video with these other characters that we don't know who they are. We get to name Zidane, whoever we want. We get to figure out his name, and we get to fight this guy with like a dragon thing on his head. We figure out that's the boss of the Tantalus group, the band of thieves. And then you find out the gist of the story right after that, of what you guys are trying to do. It's trying to kidnap the princess, because, well, you find out later why you're trying to kidnap the princess, which is great. But then it just opens up to the title of the game once the ship arrives. And we see another character. We see Vivi, who's looking overhead. Then we get to play Vivi. Everyone loves Vivi out of Final Fantasy IX. But I'm telling you, every single character in this game is lovable, relatable, and the character development is spot on. Now, not to be completely biased, but Amaranth is the only character in the game, the crimson red hair guy on the cover, who he was pretty one-dimensional type character, but you know what? Maybe that was the point. Maybe they didn't have enough time because the game was coming right off the killer streak that was Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy IX was like already being worked on as soon as 8 was released. It's fucking crazy. So anyway, the game starts so perfectly. I'm going to tell you this. Once you get out of the intro part, that's when the game just starts. But the whole, obviously, right? But the whole prologue or introduction is just masterful. It's perfect. I love the medieval theme. I love the music. I love the characters you play. I like how you play different perspectives in the beginning. It was just great. And then the mini games that you're able to do, like the hot rope jump, and then like the pressing there was like some quick time events you had to do, right? Like picking the right buttons against Blake in the theater part, the opera or the play. Is so cool. It was so cool. They did such a phenomenal job getting you interacting into the world, letting you know, like, you're introduced to so many characters, and yet you understand all their quirks and behaviors right away. Amazing. It's amazing stuff. So this is how it is throughout the whole entire game. You're just swept away into this beautiful medieval world with a bunch of interesting creatures and characters that you're introduced to. And these characters, like I said, you can relate to them. They all have their own flaws and strengths, and conflict resolutions and character developments and redemption arcs. It's so great when each character has their conflict resolution. Like you'll pick that up. It's amazing. It's fantastic, and it's why a lot of people can resonate with 9 so well, because it's pretty much a near perfect game. I'm not kidding. I know people have complained about the mini games of it. Like maybe they didn't like the main villain. It's not a Sephiroth. Okay. Sephiroth just has like a crazy identity crisis, and apparently he's the best villain ever. I get it. I know why people like Sephiroth, because the way they choreographed and the cinematic designs of him. I understand that. But I don't think Kuja is as bad as people are saying. Kuja, I like his reasons too for wanting to do the things he does. It makes sense. It gets pretty deep into the game. Admittedly, it can get confusing near the last half of the game, or the last third, or the last fourth of the game. But that's because there's just it's like almost like sensory overload. It's not trying to be knee-jerk reaction, but it's kind of crazy once you start putting the puzzle pieces together. It just deserves like another look at. It's not trying to treat you like you're an idiot, and it's not trying to be over the top. So, like I said, if you watch my Final Fantasy IX video, top 9 reasons why it's better than 7, everything I say about that game could be connected to this. It correlates with one another. Everything in the game in Final Fantasy IX I had a blast with. It was so much fun playing them growing up, back when I was a kid. And I was only like 10 or 11, guys. Nowadays, games are like 300 plus hours long, like these open world games like Witcher or Red Dead. You get what I'm trying to say, like Breath of the Wild. Those games can last a very long time. But Final Fantasy was like the perfect length. You just didn't want to put it down. I didn't want to put it down. It was great. It was challenging. It was fun. A lot of big-time RPG fans understand why this game was so great and what made it special. And if you didn't like it, you're just fooling yourself, okay? You're just fooling yourself, right? You shouldn't have an opinion. No, just kidding. But anyway, guys, the 20th anniversary is just something I'm going to get to the real meat of it. I just want to let you guys know why I liked it. I know a lot of it's pretty vague, but I can go on forever, and like I said, that video I keep mentioning is the perfect explanation. So it's almost like an extended reason of why I like it so much. But Final Fantasy IX is 20 years, guys. This game, I would say, is definitely the black sheep of the group because of when it came out. It came out, like I said, a year after Final Fantasy VIII, and then shortly thereafter, Final Fantasy X came out. So it kind of got swept under the rug for a lot of people because people were getting hyped up about the PS2 and Final Fantasy X. But check out Final Fantasy IX, man. It definitely deserves all the love, and I would say it's definitely the black sheep of the franchise. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a different Final Fantasy. Good. I hope it's not the black sheep. But it's very accessible for anybody who wants to play in modern days on the modern generation of consoles. And you know what? I'm actually glad. I'm glad that Square Enix is doing something for Final Fantasy IX. They have like special interviews, an in-depth analysis of like what it took to create this game and stuff. So we get a modern viewpoint of the game 20 years later, which I really appreciate that Square Enix did that. Now, I made a video called Chrono Trigger celebrating 25 years or something like that. And it talks about how Square Enix just gave no fucks about Chrono Trigger at all. They didn't celebrate the 25th anniversary at all. And I tried looking. I type in Final Fantasy IX, and I get all these top stories talking about the 20th anniversary. I typed in Chrono Trigger when it was its 25th. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So it's complete polar opposite. And Chrono Trigger is definitely up there, man. Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy IX were one of those games that changed me as a writer, making my book and stuff. NikoTheLegend, I use a lot of inspiration with that. I took that stuff to heart because it's those games right there pretty much is me, if I was put in a video game, or my imagination, or my type of beliefs and stuff like that, for the most part, right? Final Fantasy IX has still aged well. Everything in that game, I understand that you guys don't like turn-based battles. I get it. For argument, to defend the games turn-based, you can put the fast-forward option on if you're playing on Steam or any of the current-gen consoles. you can do no encounter mode, you can do level 99, you can get all the money you want, so you don't have to worry about too much about the grind. If you want to just play story, you can do that. Okay, but the grind is a part of the game's, It's formula, okay? It's philosophy. That's what Final Fantasy has always been built on. I know current day Final Fantasy games are just spam the button all over the place, like Final Fantasy 15. I hate the combat in that game. Don't even get me started. But Final Fantasy 9, it's just such a charming game. I can't stress it enough. And it's just exciting. It makes me happy that this game is still going strong and still being talked about as one of the greatest RPGs ever made. That's coming from me. But if you look on plenty of people's lists, which I get can be subjective, you know, it's people's opinion on what they like, but you'll see Final Fantasy 9 on there. It's definitely on there. Final Fantasy 7 is the most mainstream. Final Fantasy 9, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the most underrated. Just because of when it was released. But, my God, this is Squaresoft when they were at their best making role-playing games. I'm not kidding. Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 9 were definitely up there for me. Holy crap. So guys, what are some great moments you have with Final Fantasy 9? Obviously mine is just the entire game. That's my favorite moment. But if I had one to pick, it's definitely when Zidane is having doubts with himself. He hates himself. He's having the worst identity crisis ever. And then it plays the song You're Not Alone. Oh, it's so great. Like, that's his conflict resolution. But another particular moment is just the whole introduction until you get to the Forest of Evil, or Evil Forest. That whole intro sequence. It's just amazing. So let me know what you guys have for memories of the game, what you liked about it and what you didn't like. I want to hear all about that, of course. And, you know, congratulations, obviously, Squaresoft, for working so hard on making this game a reality. It was a fantastic job. Of course, Square Enix, but Squaresoft at the time. And yeah, let me know if you guys were always curious about it. Like, I'm just going to say you should play it. If there's any Final Fantasy game out there that you're curious about, then play that. I know Final Fantasy VII Remake came out about a few months ago, and that's what's hot and what's current and graphically and all that. But I'm telling you, Final Fantasy IX is the one. I can't stress it enough. So, I've been your host, NikoTheLegend. I hope you enjoyed me adding this nice Final Fantasy, this Zidane right here. He's right here, under boob. And, you know, it's been a pleasure. And, you know, I could have done some more editing with this video. Very lazy editing work, bad lighting, I get it. But I don't care. I just want to get my point across, right? So, I hope you understand exactly what I went through. And once again, just real quick, besides like, comment, and subscribing and all that, check out the link below for top 9 reasons why Final Fantasy IX is better than 7. Just check that out. You'll get to hear everything in depth, and you get to learn about Final Fantasy 7 too. And I hope I convinced you otherwise, guys. Alright, Pathfinders, take care and enjoy the pandemic. What?